Hello and welcome back to another episode with the DIY Doctor. And in today's episode, we are talking loft storage. We have got the two most common forms of raised loft storage here. And I'm going to do a dummy run with both of them and let you know which one I think's best. With the ever increasing cost of your home fuel bills, the best way to bring that down is to actually make sure that you've got sufficient insulation in your loft. Now, one thing to take note of is that when you add insulation to your loft, you want to make sure that that insulation isn't compressed and it also has an air gap. And the best way to achieve that is to use a raised board system like the ones I'm going to show you here today. So let's take a look first of all at what you get in a Loft Legs kit. You get a list of instructions, always very useful. And there's not a whole lot to it really. You just get a box of legs, and I'll show you in a minute when we do a dummy run on some frames that I've knocked up, how we go about fixing these, but that's it really. One plastic leg, and obviously it's a box full of them, raised up to 300 mil to allow for plenty of space between your insulation and your board and to allow for the air gap that we mentioned earlier. But that's it. Not a whole lot to it, but let's see how it works. Right then, and over to the LoftZone kit. And as you can see, we've already got a few more implements to this than we had with the Loft Legs. So we have got a box full of these triangular truss-shaped legs. We also have some singles. And most notably, we have this, a metal track, and I'm going to show you in a moment on our frame exactly how this goes together and how the track works with the legs. So for the purpose of the video, I have sped up this footage, but you can see me here attaching the Loft Legs to the dummy frame that I have made. Fixing them down is a very simple process, and I'm using one of the loft boards as a spacer so that I can make sure that I get the alignment for the edges on each of the Loft Legs. These Loft Legs have a reinforced plastic flat top of which all four corners of your adjoining boards should meet in a sort of cross section on top of them. So there you can see I am just about to fit the last leg that I'm going to do on this dummy frame in position. Now the first thing I've noticed when doing this is, one, I can understand the appeal when you look in the box and there is only a bunch of legs and nothing to overcomplicate it, especially from a DIYer's point of view. But the one thing I have noticed that I didn't realise before we started is just how many legs would be needed to cover such a small area, which I think if you're doing a loft space would definitely hit you in the pocket. A simple system, but definitely feels like it could be a costly one. So here I am now fitting the LoftZone system, and I must say I was very surprised at how quick and easy it was. Simply a case of aligning the legs in the corners, putting a central run down the middle, and then attaching the structural cross beams. And although on the surface it looks more complicated than the Loft Leg system, it was actually a lot quicker and a lot easier than I thought it would be. This having taken just around 3 minutes to complete, where the Loft Leg system took me 10. So this is the last screw that I've had to put in to get this side in the LoftZone stuff done. And let me tell you, the first thing I noticed, although it looks like a more complicated system, I've done that in about a quarter of the time and covered a bigger surface area. So far, I'm very impressed. But let's see how it works with the boards on top. Right, so there we go. Loft Legs area has now been insulated. And what I'm going to do now is place the boards on top, screw them down, and we'll give it a little test. So what you do with these now is you only just need to screw through your chipboard floor directly in to the support top on the loft leg. Depending on whether you're using good screws or not, you may need to drill, pilot drill and countersink them. But these ones, because they're good quality, they actually just pull in quite nicely. So I don't have to worry too much about that. But as you can see from the loft legs here, fully demonstrated that we've got a huge amount of insulation here. We've actually got over 270 mil and it still leaves an air gap going through. So with these being 300 mil, it does confide to most common building regulations, which is always useful. So you'll notice what I'm doing now over here on the LoftZone side, and that is installing in the cross beams. And there is one very, very big advantage to this system that I can already see compared to the loft legs. Firstly, you'll see how few supports are actually needed because these cross beams add a great deal of strength to the structure. So it meant that installation time when I was putting this frame together compared to this frame was a lot less, around a quarter of the time. Another advantage to the cross beam system with the LoftZone product is, depending on the position of your ceiling joists in your loft, they might not line up perfectly with the board widths. So then you would end up having overhang, which is potentially dangerous, or you might end up having to use a lot more of the product to try and make them meet where all the joist positions are. But as you can see with this, because I've put the cross beams in place, it doesn't really matter where your joists fall, so long as it's covered by the cross beam. And that is the biggest single factor that I've noticed so far that gives it the advantage to the other system. Oh, look at that. It's a solid platform already. So again, just screwing these down. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to see whether our raised loft structures will take my weight. And I think first of all we'll start off with the loft legs. Well, plus note, it didn't collapse under my 16 stone. And yeah, it feels fine. I don't particularly feel like I want to jump around on it, but it definitely has done what it said it was gonna, and that has raised up the floor enough to allow for insulation without compression. The only thing that concerns me when I'm up there is knowing the construction of these loft legs. Where it comes to these areas here where you've got boards joining on the outrigger flaps of the loft legs, I'd be concerned that if I was to put my weight in the wrong place, I might end up going through it. But hopefully that isn't the case. And I suppose if you are only using it for storing suitcases and other light goods and you're not spending too much time up there, you should be fine. And now for our second product, the LoftZone store floor. Well, instantly I've got more confidence being up here. Knowing that it's got these metal cross beams gives me much more faith in it as a structural area. I don't feel like I'm going to put my foot in the wrong place and end up going through the floor. I've got a lot more confidence with it underfoot. So I think if it was down to me and I was choosing a product just from what I've seen today, I'd definitely be choosing the LoftZone store floor. Now, if you feel like fitting this would be a bit too much for your DIY skills, then both of these systems do have teams that will come and do it for you. But the LoftZone system, because it's BBA approved, means that their installers are Trustmark accredited, which will definitely give you some peace of mind. So there we have it. 2 options for raised loft storage, Loft Legs and LoftZone. I know which one I prefer, but I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And also, leave me a comment and let me know, have you currently got a system in place? Or if you're going to do it in the future, which one are you leaning towards? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on DIY Doctor.